I found the spreadsheet on a Tuesday afternoon while I was helping my mother organize her home office. She'd asked me to scan some old tax documents, and there it was, tabbed, color-coded, updated quarterly for the last 11 years. 11 years of transfers. Every single one to my brother David's children, and not a penny to mine. My parents raised us in a 3-bedroom ranch house in Naperville. Nothing fancy. My dad drove the same Camry for 12 years. My mom clipped coupons well into her 60s, even after Dad retired with a solid pension and they'd paid off the house. They weren't rich, but they were comfortable. The kind of comfortable that hides behind modesty because that's what their generation does. David and I were close growing up. He's 3 years older, moved to Minneapolis after college, married Tara. They had 2 girls, Elise and Margot. I stayed closer to home, married Ben, and we had our 2 boys, Caleb and Owen. Sunday dinners, holidays at Mom and Dad's, matching pajamas at Christmas. The whole picture. But there was always a current underneath. My parents treated David's life like an achievement and mine like a given. He was the one who made it. Corporate job, big house, country club membership. I taught 4th grade. Ben managed a regional plumbing supply company. We did fine. We just didn't do it loudly enough for my parents to brag about. When Caleb started showing real promise in soccer, travel league level, I asked my parents if they could help with tournament fees. $300, maybe twice a year. My mom sighed and said, "We'd love to, sweetheart, but things are tight right now. You understand." I did understand. Or I thought I did. I never asked again. I picked up tutoring shifts after school instead. 3 nights a week, sitting at a stranger's kitchen table helping their kid with long division while my own kids ate reheated pasta. I sold lesson plans online on weekends. I made it work, the way I always made everything work. When Owen needed braces, same answer. When we wanted to send both boys to a STEM camp in Michigan, same answer. We wish we could help, but you know how it is. I knew how it was. I never resented them for it. Some families have more to give. I told myself mine just didn't. And every Thanksgiving, David's girls would talk about their school trip to Costa Rica or their new violin teacher, and my parents would beam. They'd nod and ask follow-up questions, like they were watching a documentary about gifted children. My boys would talk about their soccer season, and my mother would smile and change the subject. That spreadsheet told a different story entirely. Column A was the date, column B was the amount, column C was the recipient, always Elise or Margot, always routed through David and Tara's joint account. Column D was the purpose. Private school tuition, violin lessons, a car for Elise's 16th birthday, Margot's SAT tutoring, a study abroad semester in Barcelona. And at the bottom, 2 rows in bold, 529 college savings plans, 1 for each granddaughter, fully funded, $80,000 each. My hands were shaking so badly I had to set the phone down. I couldn't do the math in my head, so I opened the calculator app. The total, over 11 years, was $347,000. $347,000 to David's children, while mine got, "Things are tight right now." I sat in that office chair for a long time. The house smelled like the lavender candle my mother keeps on the hallway table. I could hear her in the kitchen, humming something while she unloaded the dishwasher. I took photos of every page of that spreadsheet, every single tab. Then I put the folder back exactly where I found it, walked into the kitchen, and told her the scanning was done. She thanked me and offered me iced tea. I said yes. I drank it at the counter while she talked about the neighbor's new fence. I didn't say a word about what I'd found. Not yet. That night I sat on the edge of our bed and told Ben everything. He didn't say much at first. Then he looked at me and said, "How long do you think your brother has known?" That question rewired my entire understanding of the last decade. Every Christmas where David's girls showed up in matching Burberry coats while my boys wore Old Navy. Every vacation David posted from Hilton Head while we camped at the state park. Every casual mention of their amazing school and their incredible opportunities. He knew. He'd been cashing those checks for 11 years and sitting across from me at Thanksgiving and never saying a word. I went through every holiday in my head like I was reviewing evidence. The year Elise got a brand new cello, my parents said they'd found it secondhand. The year Margot studied in Barcelona, and my mother described it as a scholarship opportunity. None of it was secondhand. None of it was a scholarship. It was a wire transfer on the 1st of every month. I spent 2 weeks deciding what to do. I didn't want to scream. I didn't want to cry at the dinner table and give everyone the chance to call me dramatic or jealous or ungrateful. I wanted them to see the numbers. I wanted the math to do the talking, because the math doesn't care about feelings or favorites. The math doesn't flinch. My parents' 50th wedding anniversary was 3 weeks away. The whole family was coming. David and Tara, the girls, aunts, uncles, cousins. My mother had asked me to put together a slideshow. So I did. I built it exactly the way she wanted. Baby photos, wedding photos, holidays through the decades. 50 years of memories set to music. Beautiful. And then I added one final slide. It was a simple table, 2 columns. On the left, given to David's children, $347,000. On the right, given to our children, $0. Below that, one line. Things are tight right now. The room went quiet in a way I've never experienced before or since. Not angry quiet, not confused quiet. The kind of quiet where 40 people are all realizing the same thing at the same time. My mother's face went white. My father stared at his plate. David stood up, looked at me, and said, "You had no right." I looked back at him and said, "You had no right to cash those checks and sit across from me pretending we were equals." 3 of my aunts left the party within the hour. My uncle, my dad's brother, pulled me aside and told me he'd suspected something like this for years. He said our grandmother's original trust had been set up for all grandchildren equally, and he'd wondered where David's share kept growing while mine stayed flat. That was a thread I hadn't expected. I pulled it. It turned out my father had been named trustee of my grandmother's estate, and he'd exercised discretionary distributions, all of them toward David's family. Technically legal. Morally, something else entirely. I hired a trust attorney, not to sue, though she said I had a case, but to force a full accounting. Every distribution, every decision, every dollar that was supposed to be divided equally and wasn't. When the accounting came back, the number had grown. It wasn't just the spreadsheet. It was 20 years of quiet redistribution. The revised total was just over $500,000. My parents called it a misunderstanding. David called it none of my business. Tara blocked me on everything within the hour. I called it what it was, a decade of looking me in the eye and choosing to lie. My attorney sent a formal demand letter, not for the full amount. I didn't want their money at that point. I wanted an equal distribution going forward and a restructured trust with an independent trustee. My father fought it for 3 months. Then his own brother testified in a mediation that he'd raised concerns about the distributions years ago and been told to mind his own business. The trust was restructured. An independent fiduciary now manages all distributions. My boys each have a 529 now. It won't match what Elise and Margot received. That math will never balance. But it exists. And my father no longer holds the pen. That anniversary party was the last time the whole family was in one room. David and I haven't spoken since. My parents and I talk, but it's different now. The lavender candle still burns in the hallway, but I don't stay long enough to smell it. My boys are doing fine. Caleb got a partial scholarship. Owen's braces came off last spring. They earned what they have, and they know it. I used to think being the reliable one was a compliment. Now I know it was just a cheaper way to keep me quiet. Some families don't break because of what happened. They break because of what was hidden. And mine hid 347,000 reasons to stop pretending.